Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing on this nice late evening?
Uh, I'm nice to be indoors and talk about music. So
Yeah, that's
I'm
that's.
sitting in my
mm.
home studio actually, where I spent a lot of time during COVID just to survive.
Oh, awesome. You have a full like. Did you record the new album and everything from your home studio?
Oh, no. So that was done in LA with Howard Benson and his team. So
Nice.
we spent 2 months there, and here it's where I have this ambient project called If Anything Suspicious, which
Oh,
I
wow.
which I released one album, and it's like really far removed from In Flames.
Right.
So it's all instrumental. So I bought a lot of synths and start learning about those, and
Mhm.
just created a soundtrack of some imaginary movie.
Dude, that's awesome. Cool because I especially nowadays I feel like in modern music like ambience and soundscapes are much more prominent than they've ever been. But I mean, even all the way back in the 2000s, with what you guys were doing in the melodic death metal scene, like that stuff was always so important. And it's cool to see a lot of bands nowadays incorporate it more because it just adds this sense of energy and emotion that I think a lot of bands sometimes were missing for a while.
Yeah. I mean, during the COVID, I didn't have my buddies around me. I was by myself here, and we want to be in the same room when we write music. So it was a way for me to stay sane, sort of,
Right.
and just creating with no pressure whatsoever. Like
Hmm.
when you do your first album, first thing, there's no pressure. No one can say anything because there's nothing like it yet. From that moment on, it's all compared to the first one. So
Right.
yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, you guys, there has been a long time since the first few In Flames album. You guys have, how long have you guys been going for at this point? It's been some
So
years.
the first album, yeah, I mean, I joined in '95,
Right.
so and same for Björn, and by that time, In Flames released one album and one EP.
Mm.
So Lunar Strain and Subterranean,
You're right.
those were the first.
Wow.
So it's the embryos of In Flames started in very early '90s. So
Right. That's
yeah.
absolutely like how do you guys not fight every day with each other being in a band together for that long? That's something I'm always amazed with, bands that have been around for so long because you guys are basically married to each other. That's what being in a band is, right? How do you guys last
We
that long?
do have our fights, but then we make up, and it's all good. But I mean, I guess after a long tour, and you're everybody's tired, and the tension is there, then it's easier, I guess.
Mm.
But it's before every show there are hugs, and we're happy to be on stage. I mean, every time you play, it's so rewarding to be playing to your fans, and see smiles in the audience that you kind of forget what's troubling you.
That makes
So,
sense. That does
yeah.
make sense. And I guess now again, are you in Sweden right now? I'm assuming.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
How's the scene there, especially after COVID, with travel with tours and all that? Like, is it popping off? Is there a lot of shows? Is there a lot of fun bands going around there right now? Or
I would say. I mean, I know when we were out end of last year, I think it was 6 or 7 big metal tours at the same time,
wow.
competing for people's money, and for you get buses, and it's all super expensive now, and especially you have to pay a lot of money for a ticket. So
Yeah.
I'm super happy that people come to our shows.
Right.
So yeah, it's tough. We need some sort of reset. after
Mm.
after COVID, everybody want to get out at the same time.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's true. Well, yeah, you guys have been doing some crazy tours. I know you guys were just finishing off. I think you guys did a tour with Lorna Shore, if I'm not mistaken, right? You did a few years.
no,
Oh,
they were invited to play at a festival that
oh, it
we
was a
have in
festival
Sweden
show. Okay.
called Dal Hallabrinner, which is happening again in August this year. And it was really cool to have them over. I really dig the band. So I for me,
Mm.
those festivals are great because I can pick my favorite bands, like what
Right.
I want to hear. So it's like a mixtape. In a way where I from the first band on, you're just enjoying the
Mm.
night and the evening. It's really yeah, it's awesome.
Well, that's the beauty of modern music, I think, because I mean, there's definitely a lot of bands, which means a lot of, competition and hard for bands, I guess, to stand out a lot more. But there is just so much music and so many new things happening, and so many, vocalists pushing the boundaries, guitarists pushing the boundaries,
Yeah.
songwriters. And there's a lot of bands just doing a lot of cool stuff nowadays. I guess for you, like, what have you been listening to nowadays that have kind of either been inspiring you or just on your downtime to kind of enjoy?
I'm really into these ambient and soundtrack, like a lot of electronic, or even sneaking in some jazz here and there.
Right.
It's for me, like, I experiencing now what I experienced when I got into metal, like, and I found like thrash and death, and when everything was just new all the time.
Right.
And I'm nerd in that sense. I want to know about it. I want to learn, because the more I know about the genre, and more I know about different composers or writers or bands or artists, the more I can enjoy it,
Yeah, that's very important, and I feel like metalheads nowadays are much more open to new music and new sounds than I think they've ever been before. It used to very much be like, hey, you like, metalcore, you like deathcore, you got to listen to just that or melodic death metal. Now it's like, I mean, bands are kind of releasing songs that are the heaviest things ever heard, as well as the most chill ambient stuff as well, which is great. Oh, Anders is gone. Hello? Oh, all right. And I think, there you go. He's back. Hello?
Hey, the technology. All right. I don't know where it just disappeared. I don't know.
All good. Yeah, I was mentioning, yes. By the way, Chad, in case you didn't know, we're joined today with Anders of In Flames. My bad. We just started kind of off and just we're kind of going with it. Yeah, so let's get some claps, of course, for the legend over here. But yeah, I feel like when it comes to metalheads nowadays, they're much more open to music, which is great. Like, you don't have to just listen to melodic death metal or just deathcore or just, heavy metal. Like, a lot of people are combining the heaviest of heavies with very ambient, big soundscapey things, and people seem to be enjoying it more often. Less elitism, I guess, than it used to be.
I mean, music is so personal, so I get when you are like super into one thing and you want to stay there for a while, and then
Right.
you kind of, the first album you get into, everything else is a comparison to that one, whatever the band does. But I mean, I usually recommend people to listen with open ears as much as possible, and enjoy the scene and enjoy the music, and it's you.
Right.
It's more entertaining for you. I mean, but if you just want to listen to the first demo of a band, then do it. If that's what makes you happy, that's totally fine. So yeah.
Well, yeah, because the music, that again, all those, there's so much music that anyone can find anything, and if they're just like, I have to find only one type of thing, they'll find it and they'll listen to that to death, basically.
Yeah. No. I think the older I become, and the deeper in the scene, and the more I know, the more open I've been. Because I also been where, super selective when it comes to, there was times there were only death metal, and that was it. Right. So I've been there.
That's fair. Yeah, well, that's fair. I mean, and especially as you get older, I feel like it's just, people want to listen to more fun, different stuff, and also just find new influences, right? Like, it's because that's where you can take those influences and somehow drive them into your own writing process. Even if it's like very minor, you're including it, it's still so refreshing, I feel like.
Yeah, and also go back to I remember last summer I went back and listened to a lot of the old death, like especially coming out of Sweden, the 90s and late 80s stuff, like early Entombed, Dismember, and Merciless, and all that stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is so fucking awesome, and really enjoying it again. But that's because I took a big detour and I was listening to something else for a while, and then.
Exactly. It's so hard to appreciate the fun, classic, heavy bangers unless you explore outside of that and listen to some more soft stuff. I mean, same thing nowadays. As much as I love, some fun deathcore and just heavy breakdowns and heavy aggressive verses, if there's not that breakup and that nice, refreshing moment, or melody in general, it's kind of like, it's really hard to appreciate the heavy moments. And also, when there is that breakup and that melodic moment, you can the heavy moments are way more impactful anyways than just dun 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 for like 8 minutes straight. You're like, okay, I get it.
That's sure. I mean, that's how we construct our albums too. We don't want everything to be the same, because people might ask for like more fast stuff, more whatever. But if it would be an album with the same type of song and it's all fast, I think it gets tired for a little bit, or for a while. I want it to be long lasting, and I want it to be some dynamics, and that's how I am with the music I listen to as well. I want to go from Queen track to D side to Albanoto. I'm all over the place.
Right. Well, that's great. That's great. And I think especially in perfect segue, speaking about, influences and albums, we have the new In Flames album, Foregone, coming out technically tomorrow for you guys if you're in Europe, but on Friday. And I got to say, man, again, I've been listening to the singles, and I've been listening to In Flames in general for, since I was a teenager, back when you guys released Come Clarity and, like Take This Life and all that. And then I kind of delved a little back deeper into the older catalog and then follow you guys since. And these new singles, man, I feel like is the most beautiful blend of your guys' entire catalog, but extra modernized with what you guys have been doing.
What you just said is something I would love if we were the gateway, like if we could introduction to our back catalog and also other bands in our genre.
Right.
If we did that introduction, that would make me very, very happy.
Oh, I think you guys are just again, you're a legendary band for so long in that sense of like, I remember even listening first to like melodic metalcore in the 2000s, Kill Switch, Bullet for My Valentine, I Was Like Dying, and I'd be like, where's that stuff coming from? And I'd hear the heavy stuff, like the breakdowny stuff, Converge, Norma Jean, but where's all the melody and the synths and all that coming from? I'm like, melodic death metal, and you guys actually were my first introduction to melodic death metal, as well as like Dark Tranquillity and Insomnium, and it was like this whole other world where it's magical, even though that stuff came before. I was able to, backtrack and be like, that's the stuff that inspired that. And I mean, even nowadays, I feel like with this whole new era of kind of melodic deathcore, even bands like Lorna Shore, like you guys are a huge influence for that sound, even though on paper it might not look like the same, exact band or song. You can hear so many elements of In Flames in a lot of modern music that you guys just have been doing so well for so long that I think it just has transcended past even the band at this point.
I mean, that's really, really cool if it's that way, and then it makes me really happy to hear it and honored to hear it as well. But like you, finding new stuff and seeing what's behind this band and where did they come from and so on. I recommend everyone to go down that path, not just with us, with other bands too. And it's very rewarding at the end of the day.
100%. I had the funniest, like, to discover gent. I didn't do it the way you're supposed to, which is know who Meshuggah is. I went through Periphery and I was like, who's this band? And then you go backwards, you're like, I get it. Meshuggah kind of starts that, and I feel like there's so many bands that have done that, and then 10 years later, 15 years later, there'll be this different band that's heavily inspired by that, changes the sound. And then both of those bands keep growing and influencing the continuous generations from there on.
Yeah. And also the bands that you just mentioned, they don't sound the same, even though they might have there. And because I mean, that's how we did it too. We want to become, we took inspiration from, German speed metal and Iron Maiden and American death metal, and then a melting pot, and out came whatever. We later in years were called melodic death metal. We didn't tag that ourselves, but that's. But anyway, I mean, and it's cool. And when you start out, you want to become as your heroes, but after a while, you find your own sound, and I think that's very, very cool. And that's how we all bring this genre forward.
Yeah. Dude, 100%.
The thing about what it's not really bothering me, but it's just like something when I started listening and I got into the scene, I thought everything you could do whatever you want, like loud drums, guitar, scream, and that's it.
As it should be as a musician to have the freedom. Yeah.
And after a while, you're like, there's rules here. I didn't know. I didn't sign up to. I'm not interested in those rules. But then you took the wrong chord here, and now you're not belonging to this group of people anymore. And now you did this, and so it was pretty hard or difficult for a while to steer through this mass of different genres. But now I just don't. I like whatever. every metal band. That's where that's who we are, and that's where we want to be. And
oh, 100%, man. And
call us where.
That's always tough, dude. There's so many bands, right, where they started with more of a specific niche sound, and then they start to branch out. But of course, there's a lot of fan base built within that more niche sound. So as soon as a band starts to get even bigger and bigger and branch out, there's that diehard fan base sometimes that's like, I want only this, and it can be tricky for any band because no band should write the same 10 albums in a row. It's boring. No, the band doesn't want to do it, and most listeners don't want to hear the same 10 albums in a row.
Yeah, keep our past as a crutch. Like we are afraid of the new. We're and especially for us, it's every time we release a new album.
Yeah,
our last worst album, so to speak, move up one. Like so.
That's a very weird thing that always happens. Like I remember even Bring Me is definitely a fun example of this, where it's like they'll release Ammo and everyone's like, or even That's the Spirit, they're like, what's this, it's not heavy, and then they release Ammo and they're like, That's the Spirit was actually really good, and then they release the next one, and it kind of keeps continuing this train of, oh, actually I really did like that album that everyone was being annoying about.
Yeah, because even when Horacle, I had to defend that one towards Yesterday's, and then Colony came, and I had to defend that one to Horacle and Yesterday's, and so on and so on and so on. So it's always about that. We should, whatever. It is what it is, but enjoy as much music as you can. We don't know when we're done here.
Do you feel like over the years it's been metalheads have become a bit more open-minded with some of that stuff, at least?
I think for the most part. I think the one there. I don't know.
There's still a few. There's always going to be the nice few on Reddit.
But that's fine, and whatever. It's totally fine. Something let's say 10, 15 years ago, I was like, okay, they don't understand what I'm doing. I want to explain my intentions, Right. But now it's just whatever. Right. It's fine, and it's so. We're talking about taste here.
Yes.
It's not a fact. It's not something that you can say this is the correct taste. Like, yeah. Oh yeah. So.
Yeah, that makes total sense, man. I think it's so hard, and I feel for bands that have to go through that. It's both as myself a musician and a consumer of music, because I know it's tricky. A band always wants to grow and do that thing that everyone's always saying, actually evolve, right? A band wants to grow and evolve, but it's hard if there's a lot of people always kind of trying to put that limiter on a band, and it's also hard for a band in general to just try to find a way to incorporate new sounds and do it really well, right? Like it's this huge juggling pot of wanting to try new things, also spending time to really do it well, make it work within the sound, and then also trying to appease the people that are very loud sometimes. Yeah,
for sure. I know we have it's not like we can go and do a country album and call it In Flames.
I would listen to your voice. You have a beautiful, big voice. I could hear you doing that, and it would do well.
But what I want to say is that we push the boundaries, within our limits,
right.
and so. And I don't want to put a limit to our music either, but the DNA of our band, I think it's the melody and aggression, and then we want it as far as we can.
That's a perfect way to describe it, man. And I think especially even nowadays, like I even call most modern metal bands, I just call this is modern metal. Like that's it. It's because everyone's mixing so much stuff. I don't know if you've been keeping up even with like Sleep Token, right? And the funk.
They're awesome.
Oh yeah. Right, and it's like, how do you genre that? There's soul, funky, seductive parts, and then there's really heavy, modern, low-tuned parts. Like, it's Sleep Token. It's modern metal. There's nothing else to really call it.
Yeah, but I'm falling into that trap, too. So I told you about I'm getting in this ambient music, and then there's a store here in Stockholm where I go, and I've been bringing some friends there, and it's like, to me, it's just music, or to some people, it might not even be music. It's just a tone, a sinus wave that sounds something. But to me, that's music, right?
Yes.
But then they asked me, so what did this sound like? And then I try to describe it again. So we always fall in that trap that we have to describe something for someone. And I'm here with you right now, and it's nice and all. But what I really would like to do is just release an album and don't talk to anyone. You know what I mean? Like let the music just, here you go. And that's something like where I am right now. It's like I own this album up on till the 10th of February. Then it doesn't belong to me anymore. Like I give it away, and it feels good. I can't control it after that. It just belongs to the people, to our fans.
I love how you describe that, because there's so many musicians and bands are like, this is mine. It is, right? You spend your blood, sweat, and tears making something, right? But when it's out there, people make their own memories with it. It's their own nostalgia tied to it, right? And that's such a beautiful way of putting it. Like, yeah, it's not even the bands anymore. It's the world. It's like the world owns that piece of art now, and they do as they please with it, and create their own memories with it.
Anything about it. It's, again, matter of taste. And I love having, because we do these Q&As when we're out, or meeting greet, we're out playing, and, you meet fans and they want to, okay, this song means so much to me. Your music means a lot. Your lyrics means a lot. And this song means this to me. And I would never, ever correct someone if they said something which wasn't my intention to begin with, because it's their interpretation. And I don't want to kill that moment, and it's there. It's,
dude, that's an amazing way to, I think of it. And again, I think these new songs, which again, it's going to be the people songs very soon, but you guys own this for sure, definitely now, and you got to take credit for making some fucking bangers, man. Like, again, as time back to what I was saying, listening to In Flames for quite a few years and seeing your guys' evolution, it's this new stuff. It's so fun because I feel like you guys get as aggressive as ever, but you also get as melodic as ever, and you combine them all in one song. And dude, your vocals too, man. Like, shit, man. I again, you've always been a dope vocalist and really good, and obviously a leader and the vocalist when it comes to the scene. But have you been like doing some extra stuff lately? Because your tones are really insane with everything you're doing.
So when we came to LA first time, it was like 2006 for Battles. So, and we start working with Howard Benson. He recommended me to meet up with the vocal coach. His name is Mark Rank, and he's been this amazing guy. It's I go to, and we talk about everything, like, and it's so I've realized that later, like, how you feel that day, you will be a better performer if you're at ease and you feel good, or you feel excited, or you feel like, if you go in with a negative attitude, it won't be so obviously you can be pissed and get everything out, but you still have to have that intention of delivering your best. So I've been with him, and we're doing, I learned to breathe, and I take care of my voice, basically. I'm not trying to be the best singer in the world, but I want to understand my instruments and get my limits, but also where I can push it and take it as far as I want to, so it's a lot of scales up and down and different things, and that was pretty uncomfortable to begin with, but as soon as I let that guard down, and it's been very rewarding, and that helped my screaming voice too a lot, so I feel like it's I think it's there's harsh and there's push, but you can still hear what I'm saying without a lyric sheet,
the enunciation is super important, which I'm glad vocalists are starting to care about that, I think, nowadays a lot more. But also, it's like vocals, I feel like out of any instrument, is the most psychological instrument. Like your mindset, how you're feeling that day, if you got enough sleep, really affects what comes out of your mouth.
100%. And I mean, I feel for the people that come to a show when the vocalist has been sick for a week, but you just, I mean, at least we don't want to cancel unless I lose my head, but like sometimes, you feel, and you can't just do it, but people, you just have to realize it's like, we have no guitar tech that we can fix our things, and so it's a lot about attitude, and you just go up there and do it. And the same, it's in the studio, you just go up and do your best.
When it comes to vocals, it seems like the evolution of it has been so wild, right? Like back in the 90s, 2000s, there wasn't a go on YouTube and see some tutorials on how to fry scream, and I don't remember when Melissa Cross started to get in the picture. I think that was maybe mid 2000s or around there, maybe later 2000s. The evolution of vocalists, like, and myself being more of a guitarist, like, guitar has gotten crazy, but vocals over the years, I don't know how some of these dudes are doing the noises that are coming out of them, because it seems as though it's at this peak of technical ability that it's still going and still rising, that it has never been before when it comes to vocalists.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned Lorna Shore and what Will is doing. Like the sound that's coming out of that little man is insane. I watched it live when we at the festival we played, and I'd be like, holy, it's insane, you know. So it's very cool where we can push it, you know, what we can do with our voice. So yeah, it's
an absolute wild instrument, and I have to talk about it, especially because I feel like obviously when it comes to early music, melodic death metal, metalcore, all of that, the whole 2000s 90s scene, Sweden, for some reason, I don't know if you guys have something in your water that makes you incredibly good at writing music, but it seems like, of course, legendary bands like, you know, you guys, Meshuggah, has translated so much into the modern metal scene when it comes to the new Swedish, I guess, scene, like Valjarta, right? Humanity's Last Breath, Imminence, and there seems to be this new age of Swedish metal, which is heavy, again, as usual, way ahead of its time from the rest of the world, while they still take so much time to catch up, and super innovative, super heavy, super emotional. But like when it comes to Swedish metal, I guess nowadays in the scene, what are there any bands you've been kind of checking out, looking out for, and being like, damn, that's insane?
All those that you mentioned are great, but you forgot Orbit Culture. They are.
Someone in chat actually just said Orbit Culture too. Yes, Orbit Culture as well. They're great
guys, and we brought them to the States, and we had them on the festival, and then obviously we had them in Europe as well. And it's such a great band, and I have high hopes for their future, and everybody should listen to them.
Yeah, it's cool because Orbit Culture's bringing more of that like thrashy death metal, but very modern sounding vibe. Yeah. And then you have all on the other side, like again, Valjarta, Humanity's Last Breath, Buster and Cal core kind of doing these things that only now again, they've been doing it since, I forgot when they were, 2011, that kind of fall.
Been out for quite some time too, but I mean, those are maybe a little tougher to digest at first, but when you give it time, it's very rewarding, you know. So that's I feel a problem, you know. I mean, because I'm aware when we do albums, I think like side A, side B of a vinyl, but I'm aware people, you know, listen to music in a different way. Use streaming services, and then you go in and listen to 30 seconds of a song, and then you judge the whole band and their career or those 30 seconds. And the bands that you just mentioned, they need more than 30 seconds, you know.
30 seconds in modern day, 30 seconds if you're lucky, because if a fan finds you on TikTok, you only get 2 seconds, man.
I don't have TikTok myself, but yeah.
That's good. No one in the world needs TikTok, so that's good. Definitely keep it like that. But yeah, it's fun seeing those bands still push the boundaries, and even if it's not as consumer friendly, what happens is then 5 years later, like it's what's happening right now, all the North American bands are influenced by them, and they basically just do that but add choruses, add these catchier choruses. And it's so cool seeing that style like fall become part of the modern metal scene in every aspect nowadays, which I did not expect to happen 11 years later.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, thinking, back about the early 90s, late 80s when we started, and this is, pre-internet. So things, news, it wasn't traveling as fast, and all the information, and you were not really, you took your time, so to speak, and then to develop too. And we were only, let's say, like 30, 40 dudes in Gothenburg doing this sort of music, and obviously different styles, but metal music, and all these small clubs. But we had time to develop our skills and our certain different, because even though like the bands they mentioned at the Gates, Dark Tranquility, or Soilwork, like all these bands, right? Yeah, we kind of come from the same little box or whatever you want to call it, but we all sound different,
Yes.
you know. And I still going to this day and doing amazing stuff, which is very, very cool. But back then we had no idea, you know.
Right.
We didn't know what we were doing, you know. And I love that naivety too, like when you don't know what you're doing. Like I look at the Jester race that was done in 11 or 12 days, including mix.
Holy shit. Oh, I did not know that. That was done in 11 or 12.
It's just like, there's something very beautiful about that. Like just going in and doing it like that. But we could never do it today.
Like including like writing 11, 12 days?
No, writing was done, you know. And,
okay.
Prior to that, but the actual recording and mixing and everything, I think I was done, if my memory serves me right, it was done in like 12 days or 11 days. I had 1 day to do all the vocals, like 1 day.
Holy shit.
So it's like if someone is like, oh, you should do Just Race again, it's like, it's impossible. It's like it's impossible, because obviously we're not the same people. We're like way too tired like, to do it. And also, I mean, there's some, what I'm trying to say is that every album is a photograph who you are at that point in your life, and there's something really beautiful, and you should never, don't try to do it again. It's just leave it, you know.
Right.
For what it is. But yeah, we sidetracked a little bit, but I the scene is great, and there's awesome bands coming, and I guess we have to blame ABBA for most of it.
I will. There you go. Blame ABBA for bangers happening nowadays. But also another, like that period of time, I'm also super fascinated with it, because I mean, I grew up again with melodic death metal, with melodic metalcore a lot. That was kind of my first introduction to metal. So that like 2000s to 2005 era to me is one of the most special eras. For you guys, how was that, seeing, you know, all these American bands as well as the UK bands start to incorporate some of that Gothenburg sound and be like, you know, really blow it up, and see these bands start to play festivals as well as you guys, and, you know, it all grow like that?
I mean, at times it was strange when we played like with our friends in Killswitch, and people didn't care about us but loved them. You know, like we were like, hello. You know, like, we're here. So that was, I mean, it could be frustrating, but at the same time, we've always been on our own path, and whatever, it's our journey, you know. But we've been a touring, like an active touring band since the late, like, let's say 97, 98 and onward. First time we came to America was, I believe it was 99.
Oh wow.
And then we've been lucky. We've been able to tour. It's awesome bands that took us out and helping, you know. But we have one of those, which is really funny. We played in Worcester, and we didn't play the big stage. I think it was us and Moonspell that played, and then we had Shadows Fall and Killswitch open.
That's a nice lineup, dude.
Like, really, really small. I mean, obviously we didn't know each other at that point, but it's a fun story, like, now thinking back about it, you know.
Right. Wow,
and then obviously we've seen those bands surpassed us in the States, and selling a lot of albums and so on, which they well deserve, of course, but you know, it's funny.
For you guys, like, how is the, like, European Eastern market versus like the American market? Because it seems as though the European Eastern market is much more, you know, enthralled with death metal and melody and symphonies and things like that, which is where, of course, I see a lot of melodic death metal shine. But also like Lorna Shore going over there, because they're a band that has, you know, fast blast beats and symphony and intense screaming. Versus, again, like the American market, which is, you know, more used to nowadays MGK and things like that.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, you obviously you have the active rock in the state that's really, in some ways, steering people to listen to a certain type of music, I guess, you know. And obviously, I'm not saying that everybody's listening to active rock, but but over here, but they are controlling what's going on and some of the major festivals and so on. Over in Europe, it's been very like it's a different scene. I think it's a different heavy metal tradition, and you can have big festivals like Wacken. You know, we
Right.
have big bands, and they have smaller bands to get the chance to play and so on. It's not like, yeah, it's a different type of scene.
Mm.
And yeah, obviously we have a bigger following, like ourselves. We have a bigger following in Europe, but we've, you know, we love being in the States too. You know,
Right.
so
Awesome.
and
Yeah.
wherever they want us to play, we go. Like we love touring. We love touring. So
There you go, chat. Where you want them, they'll go. Come on, go
yeah,
get some tickets right now and show the boys the love. Tell them where you need them to be. They'll make it happen,
yeah,
right? I love that.
yeah.
And of course, you know, speaking of new things and possibilities, again, we have the brand new album Foregone from In Flames. Show the boys the love. Go check it out. Pre-order it. It's out February 10th. Again, on Friday. Don't miss out on that. And again, I want to talk a little bit more about not just the singles, but the direction and I guess the attitude you guys went with this album. Like something about this, again, just the singles even so far. There's a
Yeah.
fierceness. There's this rawness to them. Where I haven't heard that from a band in a while. That has just that, like, damn, that energy where you're just instantly encapsulated with what's happening. What was your guys like? Did you have an approach going into this new album and writing it, or was it something that just happened and unfolded naturally?
Um, I mean, COVID is a big. I mean, we've. I think this album would have been different without a COVID,
Right.
in a way, because it was a break that we didn't ask for, and yeah, I was missing being on stage, seeing my touring family, the boys in the band, and the crew, and the fans, and everything, and it was tough there for a while, you know, and all that frustration and you know, yeah, missing everyone and being part of a group is, to me, it's so important.
Mhm.
So all that energy went into this album. The
Gotcha.
only thing Björn and I said really is, when we started thinking about making this album, was like, okay, we need to bring the guitars a little bit more in the front and make the drums a little bit more punchy, because I feel nothing against the people that we worked with, like when it comes to the productions and stuff like that, but it was a little bit too laid back for me,
Right.
like where I am right now, at least. I want it to be a little bit more,
Right.
you know, yeah, heavier, or whatever you want to call it. It's so easy to throw that word around, but
It is.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, as a guitarist, I appreciate that because I remember even listening to the first single you guys rolled out. Oh my God, I'm so bad with names. The first single you guys did. Yes, exactly. And being like, I need to grab my guitar right now, which again, my job nowadays is to listen to, you know, music, and there's a lot of music and all that. You can get, you know, it all gets kind of, you know, muddled, and I forget which song is which. But when I heard that track, I was like, wow, there's something about that that's just, it's exciting. It has this energy. The riffs are great. It's not this crazy tech fest that, you know, is like, oh, okay, they're just showing off. No, it's this well composed track with really tasteful guitars, riffs, and vocals that just has this fun, dark, aggressive energy that, like I said, really feels like all of In Flames in one, which is beautiful.
yeah. I think that's really ground zero for In Flames. That type of song, you know,
Right.
that's the melody and aggression, what I talked about, like blended in, and yeah. If you don't like that song, I can't help you.
that's
That's what we're about, you know, like that's it.
that's fair. Yeah, if you don't like that song, there's nothing you can do about it. And even like Meet Your Maker, which funny first thing is, when did Chris Broderick join In Flames? Because that passed me, and then I see Meet Your Maker, and I'm like, where did the Megadeth guy come from?
Oh yeah, so he when we started, we're supposed to start touring for I the Mask. Nicholas couldn't go, so and the crew were already in the air, basically. So we had an American tour coming up, and obviously our music is meant to be with two guitars, and we didn't want to have one guitar on tape and then, you know, Björn up there alone. It's like, that's not how it works. And
Right.
you know, want to go on tour, and don't want to disappoint our fans, so you know, we got to do someone. Who do we call, you know?
Right.
Like, and Chris, we know Chris from Jag Panzer and Nevermore, like way back, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
let's see what he's up to. And luckily he, I think he was working on some act of defiance or doing something, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll come and help you out." And he he hasn't left. He's still here.
Yes.
I mean, he's such an awesome dude, and we already knew him on a personal level, so that was easy. And he's pretty good at guitars. So,
he's decent. Yeah, he's all right.
Pretty decent, So now he's been working his ass off. Really, I mean, that's a funny thing too. It was the same with Tanner. He had to do like 40 songs too, because he had not that many weeks until we had a big festival in Sweden. We were playing 2 nights, so he had to learn a lot. So
right.
To all of those guys, they've been fantastic. But so no, Chris has been with us now for what is like 4 years.
Oh my god, I have been out of the loop. Okay, good to know. Well, it's so awesome, because there's a lot of bands, where that happens, where over time, they lose members, and then they get someone really good. Let's say a guitarist known for shredding, or a drummer known for fast double kick or whatnot. And you hear the songs with the new members, and you're like, where are they? Like where's their shine, their little bit of influence, and you don't hear it, and it's kind of sad. But with what you guys have been doing, especially with Meet Your Maker, I love that you're just like, do your thing, dude. Do the thing. And he goes up there, crazy solos, and again, even the drums now, absolutely wild. I love that you guys aren't scared to utilize that amazing, new fresh blood of the band.
No, not at all. And if it was 100% up to me, it would be more guitar. I do love that stuff. So, and I've been pushing a lot, and I think the guitarists are happy. And that's the thing. We're just about to release this album, right?
Right.
But we can keep this lineup and what we're doing right now. I'm so looking forward to the next one, when we actually know what we can do, and fucking Tanner, he's a racehorse, and Bryce is amazing. He had a wonderful tone, and he's super solid on bass, and then with Chris too. So it's and then we played a bunch of shows between now and then, and I can't wait to do that. And it will be we haven't done our masterpiece yet. Maybe that's the one.
Haven't done master. Maybe that. Yeah, the 10-minute songs that people on TikTok will not get in with 2 seconds, and they'll be like, next one, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is that for you guys? Of course, the new album, coming off of COVID is definitely an inspiration and energy. But how is the fact that there's new blood? Like, did that also bring a lot of new life and excitement to the band, besides just them being amazing musicians?
Yeah, I mean, every time I think you learn something about yourself, and you learn something about a group dynamic, and it brings that's not the intention. You don't want to. I think when you start out, you want to be the same guys, work to the end, and that's it. But then lives come in between, and things happen and whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I'm in a really good place. We're having a great time. I not to say anything bad about anyone, but I think we sound amazing live,
right.
these days, and very solid. People want to be there and do their thing. So and the technical level on those guys are amazing.
Yeah.
And that makes it easy for me and Björn too. Take a step back and enjoy it, and we're not worried at all.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I think that's important, because obviously a lot of people always assume, people leave bands and stuff. It's like this crazy animosity, but sometimes it's as simple as was just we're gonna do different things, and it's, I think a lot of fans and a lot of media, of course, kind of make it a much bigger thing than it ever really is.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough holding a band together, especially when you start having a moment and you're traveling all over, and you are in different stages of your life, and on your you mix your personal life with what's going on with the group and so on. It has to work, and it's just it's very natural, and it wasn't meant to be that way, but here we are, and it happened, and we try to do the best out of it and enjoy it.
Like I mentioned earlier, like being in a band is a marriage. You have to smell each other every day, and you're on tour. You have to do.
And oh my God, dude.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta get really used to that. It's tough, right? Everyone wants their own thing, and there's a lot of people involved, right? A lot of variables, and to get a lot of people, you know, on the same track with the same exact goal for many years is a feat. Like any band that goes longer than 5 years, to me, I'm like, I don't know how that happens. Like that's a clap to me, because that's amazing. It's not easy to do that.
Yeah. Not an easy place to be. If you don't want to be there, you know, if you play shows and you're like, this is not for me, then that's, you got to do something else. Otherwise it's a drag traveling around and do, you know, just for other people, not for yourself. I mean, I'm here because I love it. I'm here because I enjoy it. It's extremely rewarding to meet people all over the planet and that share this common interest in music, you know. So cool. I'm here for that.
That makes sense, 100%. And even when it comes, I guess, to the writing process, I guess a couple questions. Number one, so is it mainly like you and Bjorn kind of selling it together? Yeah. Like, what's your guys starting? You know, like you start with the riff, you start with this. What's your usual go-to with a lot of the writing?
Yeah. So yes, I mean, usually riff or a vibe or feeling. Sometimes there's like a vocal, you know, idea I have, or I explain. I will need to make this type of song because, as I said before, we look at an album, right? So we write whatever we need for the album. We don't write 40 songs and pick the best 12.
Okay, I got you.
No one outside, not the record company, not management or anyone. It's like we decide. And then obviously the band, you know what people are capable of and what they do. And even though Björn and I write and arrange and do all that stuff, the other guys are extremely important too. You know, they bring in their energy, and having them around like every day, that brings something to the table. And when it comes to recording, I mean, it's their skills. That's what they do. And what happens when from the demo to the final product, there's, you know, elevation on all levels.
Have you over the years, have you guys had many songs where they were like 95% there, but they didn't have that last 5%, so you didn't end up releasing?
Even with this album, there was like, you know, there's The Great Deceiver, which now is one of my favorite, or maybe the favorite song of the album for me. That one was really flat for a while. It was like, I don't know, man. It's like we have to do something about it. And when we talked about it and changed some things, and a big credit to Tanner and the guys in the studio for trying things back and forth, you know, and all of a sudden we came up with something that was amazing to us, you know. And we there's I think there's two or three tracks that didn't end up on the album, but it's not they're worse. It's just that they didn't fit dynamically to me when I put the album together. That makes sense. It's all about feel. You know, like it has to be in a certain order. It has to feel right, and you know. Well, I
love that you guys still write. You know, because a lot of bands obviously are starting to switch to like, you know, it's everyone just cares about the single anyways, right? It's single, and that, which again, marketing wise, seems to work and convert with the modern day of like TikTok and all that stuff. But very few bands nowadays are like, this is the album. This has to kind of make sense all together. You know, it's like, here's a song, here's a banger. Hopefully it works together. You know, that's what a lot of people are doing.
It wasn't, I mean, when we wrote State of Slow Decay was not, you know, let's write a single. Like that. It came later where like, oh, this is a good introduction to what's going on here.
Right.
This is I want people to be excited about, and I knew we had more songs, you know, like I it's not just one song and then the rest is fillers, you know. It's like, so yeah, I mean, we released, what is it, like 4 or 5 songs prior to the actual release now, but it was more like we need some music out while touring. We want to have some new, because in a way the touring we did was the extension of the I The Mask touring,
right,
because it's COVID in between, but we want to have something new. So and we took time to write the album, so we was like, okay, let's have these songs out and we play something fresh, you know. And then, again, pretty much more for us, you know, like.
That makes sense. What do when it comes to live shows, I have to ask this: what songs for both you guys as musicians, but also then for the crowd, hit the most? Like, as soon as you start to play it, you guys get the most hype, and then as soon as it starts to be played, the crowd gets the most hype.
I mean, you have like staples like Only for the Weak and stuff like that. I usually go down really well. And if we don't play that song, someone will write an angry comment on the internet.
Not the angry comment. Oh no.
that we don't read, but whatever. No, I mean, I think it changes from night to night in a way. And it's all how we feel. If we go in and have a shitty attitude, which we don't, but if we would,
Right.
the great song from the day before would not be as good.
Never.
And also it's so much, you're trading energy with the audience. Like,
Yes.
so if they are going nuts, we go nuts and we get pumped up, and the other way around.
Right.
So it could be it could be the best one of the night could be one from Luna's Rain,
Right.
or something Foregone. It changes from night to night, and I love playing some of our back catalog, especially showing people that are new to the band. Like, okay, this is the Hole in Flames. I mean,
Yes.
when we're support act to a bigger band and you only get to play for 30 minutes, it's not easy to show the Hole in Flames. And I when we headline show, at least we can do that when we play 140, 150.
Well, I'm glad that you guys embrace your whole catalog, right? There's very few bands that I feel like do, especially ones that have been going as long as you guys, because they sometimes will be like, oh, well, it's the earlier stuff, we weren't at where we're at now when it comes to songwriting, or et cetera, or maybe they've changed their style quite a bit throughout the years, and they're like, doesn't represent us anymore. But I love that you guys are open to just being like, here is In Flames. This is what we do. All of us throughout the years, we're proud of what we've done, even if it's like looking back, maybe that song could have been a little better, or this. You guys are still proud of the legacy you guys have made and pushing forward with the modern stuff you're releasing, which is great.
Yeah, but all of those songs are important, and if you take an album out, we wouldn't be where we are. It's who we are, and I love that, and I love our history. I'm very proud of our history, but I will never be the one that looking for the past. I want to bring it with me and go forward.
Yeah, learning from it, I think, is super important, that a lot of people don't do, right? They don't learn from their past or mistakes. They're just like,
no. Yeah, well, when it comes to the music, I don't want to talk in terms of mistakes. Like it is like whatever. But no, but it's fun now. Obviously for this album, doing tons of interviews, and I talk to people, and everyone say, "Oh, this album is you look back like it's your past. You're like, it sounds like you're going back to your roots." And I always like, what roots? What are you talking about? Because for someone, like you said, it's come clarity for you, and then you went back.
Exactly.
And for someone, it's Luna Strain, and for some people, it might be battles. Like, so it's all. I don't know what they mean, and we have not. We didn't go into this one and say, okay, let's look back and do something. I don't feel we lost anything. I just want to move forward and do what we do, and I don't care what's going on around the world either. And
right.
It's all funny with this. Put us in a certain box and say we did this or we did that, or we're influenced by that band or this band. It's like, no.
No.
If people knew like how little Björn listened to music, like he's there once in a while, because I'm more nerdy. I listen to a lot of genres, and I want to be. I'm interested in what's going on, right? Music. I want to be aware because I'm nerdy in that sense. But he's not. He's like Black Sabbath, Rainbow, Dio, Van Halen.
Right.
That's him. That's Ground Zero. That's what he bases his riffs onto, and some early death metal, maybe. He doesn't care about like when someone says, "Oh, you sound like that," because no, like that's unintentional in that case.
Yeah, well, and it's also for any band literally impossible to technically be something that is not somewhat of a combination or influence of many different variables and many things that have come before. There's no such thing as a band that is only this one unique thing that has never been tried in any aspect before. It can't happen because there's so much different music, and even in some ways you'll probably throw it back to, oh, well, that's inspired by early blues, the OG stuff. So it's
funny that you mentioned, because I was watching some documentary about noise music, like Japanese noise.
Oh,
right?
Noise music, yeah.
And then that is hardcore. That's hardcore. And even some people in that scene, that's not harsh enough. That's new noise, whatever. And
right.
All I hear is just like but that, I mean, it's in all genres. That's how it,
Right.
the way it is.
Well, that's the beauty of music, and I think as we go along too, like the genres aren't going to be a thing. It's just here's music. Like I'm sure metal will always for a long time be differentiated from pop, you know, and maybe rock and that to that point.
Yeah.
But it's music, you know, and there's just going to be more and more cross pollination of influences
Yeah.
from different genres. That as long as the scene starts to be more accepting, which I think they have been, and the musicians becoming, you know, riskier and more open-minded to trying those things, knowing that the scene won't instantly be like, it's not the same album, sorry, you can't do it, you know. I think that's a healthy future for everyone, because the fans get amazing new innovative music, and the musicians get to not be bored and actually get to, you know, build and have fun, which I think is important. Right.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Dude, yeah, man. Well, honestly, man, again, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. Like I said, I've been a fan of In Flames for quite a long time, since I was a kid. So, again, chat, can we get some claps for Anders of In Flames coming on the show to talk with us today? Again, their brand new album, Foregone. Which
Yeah, Foregone.
Foregone, okay. Foregone, I did have it right the first time. It's out February 10th. It's out on Friday, so show them the love. I'm going to be checking it out here on Twitch with whatever guest I got, so I'll definitely be throwing on some tracks. What's you mentioned? What was your favorite banger? Is it one of the singles already? I forgot which one you said, because I'll make.
I think Right This is my favorite. You know, out of all the tracks.
Okay.
But you know, I love them all. You know, I have to say that. Not have to say that, but it's, you know.
Well, they're like all your kids, right? Like you'll maybe, yeah.
Yeah, call me in 10 years and maybe I have a better answer. You know.
Maybe I'll have a better answer. Well, Anders, dude, it's an absolute pleasure talking with you again. Thank you for taking time, especially a late night time, to come hang with us, dude. Best of luck with the new album. I'm stoked to check it out, and you know, best of luck with anything. If you're ever in Toronto, I'll be sure to stop by and see you guys kill it on stage, man.
Oh, I love Canada, so thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome, Anders. Thank you so much. Have a good night, man.
Yeah.
See you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.